Okay, today we're going to be changing the front spindle bearings for our Losi AT 2.0. The tools you're going to need for this application is a 1/4-inch nut driver, a 5/64 hex driver, a 3/32 hex driver. If you're running the aluminum spindles, you want to use some Loctite, a buggy or truggy wheel. I like to use a buggy wheel, it leaves more room, and of course our Boca bearings. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started here. First, we're going to go ahead and remove the top linkage with the 5/64 hex driver and a 1/4 millimeter. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started on changing our bearings on our right front spindle, and you're going to need a 1/4-inch nut driver, a 5/64 hex wrench, and start off by taking your camber link off. And keep track of these little spacers that they have in here. They look like little half moons. Next, we're going to take our 5/64. We're going to take our steering linkage off. Next, you take a 3/32 hex wrench. Take off your spindle holder. As you can see, you want to change out your bearings every half gallon or so. They like to water the track a lot. Makes a lot of rust. Okay, and that removes your entire assembly. And repeat the process with the left. How does that sound?
Dude, whip it up.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Change our front spindle here. Now I'm just going to do the right side because the left side is the same. You just reverse everything you do. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started with our front spindles here. I'm just going to do the right side because the left side is the same process as the right, or vice versa if you'd like to look at it. Here's the tools that you're going to need to start with: a 1/4-inch nut driver and a 5/64 hex wrench. Loosen everything up like so. And you know, while you're doing this process, since we're rebuilding the truck, it's always good to rebuild your CVDs while you're at it. And don't lose track of these little spacers here. They can jump out at you. All right. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started with changing the front bearings on the spindles on our Losi AT 2.0. The tools we're going to need to start with are 1/4-inch nut driver and a 5/64 hex wrench. You know, while you're in the process of doing this, it's good to rebuild your CVDs. You will probably want to do that about every half gallon, right along with rebuilding your bearings or replacing them. And you do not want to lose track of these little spacers here. They can jump out at you and land in the dirt and never find them again. So, got those out there. And then we want to go ahead and take our 5/64 hex wrench, take out our steering linkage, bolt, and then we take our 3/32 to take off our spindle. Actually, it's our hub. The spindle's connected to the hub. And as you can see, this screw is coming out rusty. A lot of tracks like to water their track a lot, and Again, that's why it's good to replace your bearings and your CVDs every half gallon or so. Okay, now we have our assembly removed. Okay, now that we have our assembly removed, we're going to go ahead and take our hex off. So we take our buggy wheel and our 5/64 nut driver and take out the set screw. Just slide the set screw off. Tap out the pin. Remove it. Hex slides right off. Make sure your hub is flush so you can pull your bearings out. You couldn't.
Rustic King bearing removal, take 2.
Okay, now that we have our assembly removed from the right front or the left front, go ahead and take your buggy wheel that we had, put it over the hex, take your 5/64 hex driver, and loosen the set screw on your hex. Take off the tire, slide off the set screw, and just take your nut driver and just kind of tap on the pin there, and it'll just come right out. There's your hex. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and take out our CVD here. Take out these bearings. And there we have it. Okay, now that we've gone ahead and rebuilt our CVDs here, like I said, it's good to rebuild your CVDs whenever you change out bearings, every half gallon or so. What you're going to want to do is slide this bearing over the CVD. And you're going to take that and slide it in to the spindle like so. And if you could hear it, it's snapped in. You want to make sure that's flush when you put that in. And you take the other bearing and slide it in like so. And you take your hex, slide it on, put your drive pin through. Okay, you're going to set that down for a second, take your buggy wheel, and you're going to take your 5/64 hex wrench. Okay, and you're going to get dirty doing this. This is normal. And get your set screw for your hex. Set that down. Put the assembly back on the buggy wheel, and then go ahead and snug it down. Okay, and there we have a new greased up, new bearings, everything in this spindle there. We're going to go ahead and replace the CVD with the new bearings. Now, like I said, it's pretty important to go ahead and rebuild your CVDs whenever you install new bearings. Okay, so you can see we've re-greased everything. You want to go ahead and take the bigger bearing and slide it over. And as you can see, sometimes the drive pin can stick out. Okay, now that we have the bearings removed and we have re-greased and rebuilt our CVDs here, like we like to do every about half gallon or so, we'll go ahead and take the big bearing, slide it over the CVD, and you're going to take that and you're going to slide it right into the spindle there. You hear it snap in there, nice and flush. Make sure it's flush. And you're going to slide the smaller bearing inside. Take your hex, line it up with the hole and put your drive pin in. Set that down for a second and take your 5/64 and get your set screw and put it on there. Then you're going to go ahead and take your buggy wheel again, put that back on the assembly. Put your set screw in. Get that nice and tight. And there we have freshly rebuilt spindle and hub assembly. Okay, now that we have everything assembled on the hub and spindle, we're just going to go ahead and put it back on the truck, and she'll be ready to rock. Slide your dog bone into your out drive first, okay, and then take your assembly here, and you don't want to lose these spacers that come in and out of your arm on the outside, or you're in trouble. And make sure that this is right side up. Losi on their aluminum spindles likes to put an R and an L on their right and left side spindles, so you know if it's upright or not if you see the R. Okay, and you're going to take a little bit of Loctite, little dab will do you. That's it, just a dab will do you. You're just going to dab it on there. You know, most of us RC racers, we just kind of, you just want to get a little bit on there. Dab it off. Slide her in. Take your 330 seconds. Tighten her up. And you're going to repeat this process on the front as well. Take your 330 seconds. Put it on the screw. A little dab will do you. Wipe her down. Install. Make sure it's nice and free. You don't ever want to get these cross-threaded. Now, I'm using Loctite because I have the aluminum spindles here, okay? Normally there's little screw, nylock screws in there. Okay, now you want to go ahead. Now, hopefully you didn't lose these little guys in the process. These little, I like to call them a half-moon washer. And also still make sure that your dog bone is still in the out drive. You don't want that to pop out. And set your first key in there. And make sure it's in the correct hole. You don't want to be in different holes on two different sides of the car. Really mess with your setup. Now these can be tricky to get in or out. Usually more tricky to get in. She popped out there. We're going to slide this half moon key in the front first. You got two of these, remember. We're going to slide this half moon key into the hole on the hub, and take your long screw here. Okay. And make sure that it goes with the groove of the screw. That's why it's a half moon key. Okay, it slides along with the screw. Stick that in. Take your camber link. Slide that in there before everything gets in. Take your other half moon key. Put it in the back side. And make sure it's on the same side as the front. You slide it through. Take your nylock nut, screw it on. And then you're going to take your 5/64 hex wrench and your 1/4 inch nut driver and tighten that up. Okay, now it's not going to fall out. You're good to go. One thing left, and you want to make sure you put Loctite on this again, because this is metal on metal. A little dab will do you. Stick your steering linkage on there, and this is going to be a 5/64 hex wrench. Screw down, and there you have it. A rebuilt right front or left front hub and spindle assembly.